Last Pint Productions, in association with Effortless Pictures, the Browse Brothers, and Cat Food Time Machine, are pleased to present the greatest show you've ever heard. You know what it is. It's the goddamn New Way Podcast. The New Way Podcast contains adult content, including probable copyright infringement, conversations your mother would call naughty, circular debates, and of course, white privilege. Listener discretion is advised. And now, get ready for the New Way Podcast.
Dragons do not do well in captivity.
How do you know this?
That's what I do. I drink, and I know things.
It's an honor to send you home.
Wait, what?
Our LaCroix budget won't cover you. You're too thirsty.
Dear Diary, today my heart leapt when Agent Scully suggested spontaneous human combustion.
Why do people have to die?
To make life important.
Everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked.
Will you help teach me about this? What is it? A new way?
Hello and welcome, ladies and gents, to another episode of the New Way Podcast, coming to you live from Boynton Beach Studios. I am Matt.
Chomping at the bit.
Wow,
No,
look
just
at that. That was very good.
Wow.
No, keep it go through. Finish it up.
I am
You gotta
Matt.
be close. Don't stop.
Here
before I'm
with
done.
my compatriots, Nicholas Santa Croce and Matt Schenk.
Croce.
Croce?
I think that's Santa Croce.
Stuck the landing on the ending.
Yeah.
That's the underrated part of Matt's intros. His outros.
This is true. No, I felt like for some reason I should just hop in and
I like
organically
it.
do it.
I have no
Okay,
problem with
okay,
this.
let's do that.
Keep going. No.
So, no, this
If
is
you see
actually
that look in his eye
never.
as the presidents of the United States are playing, just let him take the lead.
He
Take
did-
the wheel.
Well, he just opened his mouth and he looked at me expectantly, and I thought, well, something good's going to happen if I just let it. So I
Gonna roll
did.
the dice on this one.
When I open my mouth, something good just goes.
It's never disappointed
There he
me
goes.
yet, and
There he goes.
it won't again. Yes,
Yeah.
you are listening to This Is Us, the show. We
lot of
are
us.
us. We can call it This Is Us. It's totally legal. Any show can be called This Is Us. I mean, really, they can't own that phrase. This is us.
This episode might be as depressing without a soundboard, though.
This is no. We can still do a.
Oh,
Thank God.
There we
Yeah,
go.
there we go.
See, we're perfect.
but we'll never have any use for
Ross!
that sound effect.
Well done.
I told you not to eat the entire cake.
Now
That naked guy is masturbating again.
I love it.
Oh no! Okay.
All right. Hey,
Look at
that's
that. Look at
fast
that.
on the
I was trying on that
That's-
one.
that's-
That's tricky. So funny. Some of those sound effects and those ideas are going to come into play later on in the episode. If you keep listening,
Imagine that.
It's going to be amazing. Just a couple of things to get to before we get to our main topic of the show. First, I want to shout out to an IMDb web series that I am super interested in right now, and it is called Unmade. I sent you guys a link for this. Unmade is a great premise. They take an actor, comedian, writer, director, anyone that has written at some point in their career, and they ask
steal
them
an idea from Derek Waters.
Yes, it's very much it's a failed pitch meets drunk history. So they pitch
great.
something that they have pitched before that has gone unsuccessfully. And it never got made usually for the right reasons.
Right.
One of these days, one of them is going to get made if this show gets enough traction.
This is true. I don't think it's going to be Accordion Repo Man that Weird Al put together,
Hey.
but there were some that were pretty good. But it's really
Well,
funny.
unless you tweet with the hashtag Accordion Repo Man.
This is true. They recreate this kind of failed plot that they do with it looks exactly like Drunk History.
Right.
Just
So-
imagine them saying the plot over it. But I'm loving it. It's really funny so far. I love that when I watched the first one, I did not know
And they're
it was
not
a
long,
bit.
right?
No, they're like 5 minutes long.
Yeah, so
the first one was Jay
that's a good-
Chandrasekhar doing the one about the cat that they were going to pitch their first studio film when they got before they pitched Super Troopers. They had this terrible cat idea. And I thought legitimately this was a show that he was doing now. Like it was, and I'm like, wow, they're really taking a weird step back.
With the Broken Lizard guides, you never really know.
Yeah, well, because that was how I saw it. It showed up in my feed of like, watch Jay Shiner Seeker pitching Broken Lizard's Cat Ninja or whatever it was. And I was like,
Cat Ninja?
I don't know if it's Cat Ninja.
Sir,
I can't remember exactly what it was.
You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention. Wow.
But yeah, I recommend.
Cat, not interested. Cat Ninja.
I gotta remember what it was. It was some sort of cat, just some terrible cat idea. But I love the series.
Do you think they're real?
It's good.
Do you think they're all real?
I have sat in rooms with both of you writing kind of semi-serious but terrible idea things, and I like Rainn Wilson's idea was essentially an idea that Ben pitched me. Just slightly different, where he's going to the old folks' home. You just set yours in a retirement community, but it was the exact same premise.
Scores this classic, with Ingmar Bergman.
I mean, I think they seem pretty legit to me. There's no reason for them to have to, I think, make up a lot of the stuff.
Yeah, I would assume that most of those people, when you're creatives, everyone has an idea. Like, I'm going to pitch that thing at one point, or pitch that for like I know what show it would be like is. Homeschooled from
I was just thinking that from Crashing
this week, which is a reference to if you're not watching Crashing on HBO, is a very earnest and fun series, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. It's like 25 minutes an episode.
I haven't been watching that.
You should watch it, man. Well, especially there's a Nick plotline going on right now that I like. Every time I watch it, I'm like, why is Nick not here watching himself on screen right now?
Well, now you got to tell me. What do you mean by that?
He's dating this girl named Kat, who is got big eyebrows and very artsy and very manic pixie dream girl.
The reconstructed manic pixie dream girl.
Yes.
Which is, that's something
hey,
that
when you have a type, you have a type.
I wanted to discuss this, and actually, Nick would agree with me on this. To take a little quick sidebar. There was so much criticism over the last couple of years of the generation of this manic pixie dream girl. And when I read what it was about, and it was just like, oh, these girls have no discernible qualities except for being quirky and odd and it's like that. And I'm just like, I think of the quintessential like manic pixie dream girls. Like Natalie Portman said, I feel like bad because I contributed to that. And I was just like, her character in Garden State's not really that. It's really weird.
I don't know. I knew the problem.
Ramona Flowers is.
I don't know. I see. Here's what I like.
Really that.
I like. I don't think that the bad label on the manic pixie dream girl is really warranted. When you think about it, these are basically just women who don't give a shit, who do what they want and feel what they feel, and aren't encumbered by anything else. And the quirkiness and the marketability of it, and usually the actresses that play them generate this like weird animosity. But it's not the worst message in the world to just like, don't be afraid to ruffle feathers and be yourself.
Right now in Crashing, that is the most like stereotypical manic pixie dream girl I think I've ever seen in any sort of property.
That's another.
But. It's played so earnestly against an earnest character that it still doesn't bother me. I still don't feel like it's not like it's not a human character to me. I'm just like, I don't understand why there's animosity towards that. And I think it's like, the mass. I feel like it's much worse off to mass generalize a woman based off of sex and appearance from a model standpoint or something along those lines. It is off of the qualities that intrinsically make a girl the manic pixie dream girl or whatever.
I think like where I don't have a problem with the manic pixie dream girl as far as like it being a dangerous message or it's a whatever it is. It's a trope. There are many tropes and stereotypes that exist in real life that are reused and done on screen.
Sure.
I think the only issue I really ever have with this, and specifically Garden State, because Garden State really is that kind of inception. And it really isn't the inception point, but it was the most like talked about, like where all of a sudden people were categorizing that character on screen.
Sure.
And I won't.
People knew who Iron and Wine was after that movie.
Yeah, like I can't name the person I had this conversation with, but I had the conversation with a female, and she was like, that movie was her. She was married to a friend of mine, and she watched that movie and it spoke to her. Oh. I mean it. To the point that anytime it was discussed or like she would see an image from it, she would break into tears. And it was just like this over the top. And she fancied herself a manic pixie dream girl, but she was more like Gone Girl, kind of psychotic and kind of not quirky, but somewhat
Matt,
evil.
Matt, I got a great movie pitch for you.
Manic Pixie
No,
Psycho.
stop. No, I got No, mine is Maniac Pixie Dream Girl. And she's a serial killer. But I think it would work.
Hey, so how about this?
That's so good.
Speaking of pitching,
I'm so glad you zigged when I zagged.
Speaking of beautiful. Speaking of pitching properties, how about this? Maniac Pixie Dream Girl is where she starts out as a villain because she's a killer, but then there's a zombie apocalypse and she ends up being like a badass.
That's great.
Yeah, there you go. Maniac Pixie Dream
This
Girl.
is like,
I love that. Yeah, and then you still make her kind of a likable.
this is like the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies kind of idea.
No, it's not.
There.
It's completely original.
Maniac Pixie
Anyway,
Dream
trademark Nick Senikoji, 2019.
Well, if this movie's made, we'll know, as usual, Matt's life is being bugged, and all of the only good ideas he's ever had have been stolen and done better on screen than he ever could have. So I look forward to seeing that in the theater 3 years from now.
My targeted Amazon ads tomorrow are like, are you interested in a hypothetical screenplay for a film called Maniac Pixie Dream Girl? It starts off with...
Oh, Lord,
but to bring it back to the show, to Crashing,
sure.
Yeah, fun show to watch on TV. It's and like I said, I like it because it doesn't overstay its welcome.
You get some comedy in a lot of the episodes, not all of them.
It does the short form Apatow, like 25-minute episode comedy thing very well, and it's earnest as it is. But
there is no earnest in it, just lest you be
it is not
thinking this is Ernest meets Maniac Pixie Dream Girl.
It's Pete Holmes goes to camp.
Pete Holmes goes to camp. And I mean, it's great. There were like moments. There are moments in where you're going to cringe, and it's very kind of he's an awkward guy. Yeah. But it always does seem to have it's very much like him. His comedy, if you've seen his comedy, is that it always kind of goes upbeat by the end. It's not neat and tidy, but there's a positive message sort of kind of at the end of a lot of where the show is going.
It's kind of is like the antithesis to Girls to me, where it's like I feel like kind of wholesome, after watching it, as opposed
especially
to
after
Girls.
that kitchen scene with Williams.
Oh, well, you mean...
I wish I had that sound effect, but I think we just got it.
You do now.
Feels so good.
Did you say that?
Was that?
Can't remember.
Oh, Lordy. So, anywho. The other...
So Unmade.
And we flirted around this subject a little bit, and I debated whether or not we should do a whole show on it, but I don't think it's going to take us a whole show. But I wanted to very quickly... And we discussed this off the podcast as well a little bit. When or do we ever revisit works from people who have been banished from the Hollywood community?
Ooh.
And I've been thinking about this a lot because part of it is kind of whatever their crime is. Part of it is how much did you like the properties or things that they were involved with? How much does it hurt you to not be able to watch them? And how much can you distance whatever they did from whatever's on screen?
See, that's the thing. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem disconnecting the person versus the art. Like, I still think that
Roman... And you support them with a rental or a ticket to a movie theater?
Particularly, but... I mean, that's...
I'm even less worried about that. I own a lot of these things already.
You're making a pretty... I mean...
I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I understand. But, because I go back and I watch the Oscar-winning film The Pianist, like I'm all of a sudden a bad person?
The what?
The Pianist.
I always hear it like that, too. The Pianist?
The Pianist.
The Pianist.
Yeah.
But Figure Eight directs a movie called The Pianist.
Right.
He's the meanest pianist around.
So,
I prefer The Schlong.
Yeah. I mean,
It was a 1980s film. It was Roger Corman, I think.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go.
So no, I don't particularly have a problem with watching and appreciating the art because there's so many more things that go into it than that one person's mise en scène or whatever you want to say.
But I mean, I have two specific ones that I'm having a very difficult time with.
You're never going to watch Guardians of the Galaxy ever again because of those tweets that James Gunn made.
First of all, that's not a real crime, so I don't count that one.
Real crime.
But real crime, fake, rape versus not rape is the Whoopi Goldberg version of that. But I look at the two specific ones are Kevin Spacey and Louis C.K. So Spacey's performances are so have always been smarmy before you know exactly what was going on in his personal life. That I watch something like American Beauty now, and I'm like, I can't separate it because he's too much. Kevin Spacey's always Kevin Spacey on the screen, and the same with Louis C.K. I can't watch that episode where he jokes about masturbation for half an hour. It used to be one of my favorite fucking episodes of that show, without being like, oh, this guy was literally preying upon young comedians and jerking off in rooms in front of them.
I really liked Louis C.K., but when that came out, I pretty much had followed his career and pretty much had seen everything, and I'm okay not having, like, I got it and it was funny when it was okay, and I don't feel like the loss. There are Kevin Spacey. I mean, I loved American Beauty, but I haven't revisited that in a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know how it would feel, but I love that movie. He's a magnetic actor. He was fun in everything he's been in.
Give me the keys, you fucking cocksucker.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, Usual Suspects is a fucking just a character actor movie populated by some of the best in the business. I love that shit. I love Seven. Fucking the end of Seven is chilling. I mean, and that is due to a very gifted actor.
Well, it's harder
but
to
he's
give
a
up,
fucking rapist pedophile.
It's harder to give up Spacey because he was in all these great films with other great actors, but Louis C.K. has just been, Pamela Adlon in 2 shows. And
his stand-up, though, I mean, I have
Collateral
a lot of
Damage
routines of his
I
like a lot.
It's just not as bad, the Collateral Damage.
Right. Well, I would say it's still to me, and the problem is and maybe this is a pessimistic way to look at it.
You have the moral compass?
I would
Jesus.
So there are people I'm sure that you idolize, Nick, that have done some pretty fucking terrible things in their lives, and I say that for all of us.
Danny Elfman is squeaky clean.
I'm sure.
Don't even try to Google that.
Just ask Bridget
Fonda.
Sorry, forgot her name.
So unclean.
Ruined that one real bad.
Anyways,
sorry, Bridget.
Only part of the greatest acting family ever.
I'm not.
The Cars of a Movie podcast. Look at you. Giggleheimer over here. How dare you?
Here's what I believe that anybody who oh man, I'm just trying to make a point.
I'm sorry.
Anybody who is going to be judged to the level that they should be, which is to the full extent of the law, and basically being dragged through the street publicly, then they and they 100% deserve that, and every bit of it. I have no problem still acknowledging their talents as a performer, as an actor. And you know what? Like, I'd go see Louis C.K. again live. I would in a few years.
Huh,
probably not today, but in a few years, I think I would. And
would your opinion change if I gave you these 2 tickets to Louis C.K.
Oh, shit. By the way, we should say this episode was sponsored by Louis C.K. A generous grant from the Louis C.K. Masturbatory Foundation.
No, because at least from the Louis C.K. side of things, there was immediate acceptance of guilt, which I do appreciate, at least to some extent.
But then a year later, he goes out and fucking makes even worse jokes out there, thinking he's done his. That's what bothers me with Louis. Like Louis C.K. could have. Louis C.K. could have disappeared.
The Parkland shit was awful.
He could have disappeared for a decade. And maybe made a comeback, but when you come back a year later, and it's like he's not fucking learning. He's not gaining any. He's not gonna figure shit out.
He is a shitty person.
Like, you can't get caught like that and then think that that's your penance as a year and just be like, well, fuck everyone else. Like, I did my thing. Everyone else is okay for me to do it. No, that's not. It's not his decision necessarily, and it's just bad PR. Whoever's managing him is not very good.
Or don't get caught, or just don't be a dick.
Don't get. Moral of this episode, kids: don't get caught.
There's right. My point is, and you're right, that the shit that was apparently in that I didn't listen to it, but I read a couple of the excerpts. I mean, that was all very, very uncouth and absolutely just completely unnecessary and terrible.
Yeah.
No, don't like it.
It wasn't even like shock humor. It was a good setup. He
was reaching. He was grasping at straws to try to change make it something else. Bombastic that it's associated, so it's not Louis C.K. masturbator. It's Louis C.K. made a bad joke.
I think that was absolutely calculated in that way.
I agree
and that makes me like him even less.
Yeah,
if that's true.
I'm with you there. But all I'm saying is that I do
get what you're saying.
I do find it easy, not easy necessarily.
You said easy.
No, well, it is easy for me, for example, to watch an old Kevin Spacey movie and be like, okay, this guy is a complete asshole, a douchebag, but his performance is really good in the movie. It doesn't affect the movie to me.
Well, and
it affects my opinion of him as a person. It doesn't affect my opinion of him in the movie.
Well, and I think distance makes sense. Like, I still watch Mel Gibson movies, and I love Mel Gibson movies, and I like Mel Gibson as an actor. Mel Gibson, not a great guy, not like pretty bad out of all of them, and I do have trouble. Again,
there's no crime there, but Tom Cruise is like legitimately fucking insane.
Yes,
but we still watch every Tom Cruise movie.
And it's
if Gal Gadot raped someone, would you never watch Wonder Woman again?
First off,
male or female?
Impossible.
All right, careful, buddy. Careful.
Oh, watch it. That was 1 year ago, by the way.
SJWPR police coming in hot.
I'm always curious because look, we all make excuses for shit. I'll watch a Mel Gibson movie and I'll turn off that part of my brain that knows that he yelled those things at that Russian girl in the hot tub and like, why don't you get down on your knees and blow me, and screams it. I mean, it's an amazing drop, by the way, but terrible circumstances.
Get that drop.
That's provocative.
It is provocative. But yeah, and same James Gunn, and I put James Gunn in a slightly different. Maybe it's me making excuses for it. I think his thing is a different thing, and it's just a fucking shock humor bullshit. Whatever. Don't you give me that fucking hand motion for that.
Here's what I'm saying.
It's very different than Louis C.K. or Kevin Spacey.
What was publicly known about James Gunn is a lot. Yes, exactly.
What do you know about him privately?
I don't. I'm saying there are people who we don't know.
Don't put that bad mojo on him.
No, I'm not putting the bad mojo on him. I'm just saying.
What do you know about Lin-Manuel Miranda? Do you know something, Ben?
How did
would it be totally shocking if James Gunn was a shitty person and we just didn't know it? It's getting caught. Would you be shocked if there was
Absolutely
proof?
Not.
I wouldn't be shocked. I'm not shocked at anything anymore. Anybody can be shitty.
I hear good stories
Neil
about
deGrasse
him, though.
Tyson was accused of rape.
Yeah, people.
Oh yeah.
It's.
Well, now I can't watch space anymore. So thanks,
Yeah.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah.
I can't look at the stars.
Well,
You took away the stars.
Go to your B team, Carl Sagan or who else again? Bill Nye. I
You
guess.
put Carl Sagan on the B team to Neil deGrasse Tyson. How dare you? Carl Sagan deserves better.
I agree. I wore a Carl Sagan T-shirt today.
You did.
So.
Anyways, when it comes down to it, I feel like there is a dichotomy versus the personal life and the way that you act versus what becomes of your on screen, if you're an actor, your persona, or what you're able to construct. There have been lots of terribly shitty artists. I mean, you think about the stuff that happened in the old days of Hollywood.
Yeah.
I mean, most
Hitchcock
of those
was a fucking horrible human being.
Yeah, Hitchcock was a terrible person. John Ford was apparently not a very good guy.
Kubrick.
I'm a big Ford fan. Kubrick's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, making somebody do 147 takes of something. So,
but I mean, look at that performance.
All right,
it was worth it, right?
I don't think so.
And, well, you know what though? That's probably the most poignant example. We stumbled upon it for me. I love The Shining so much, but knowing what Shelley Duvall went through and then seeing it
and being abused by mentally abused by Kubrick throughout the entire shoot. And that stank is on that film. But it's
an amazing
one of my
film.
favorite films ever.
I'm like that about Landis. I mean, with the whole Twilight Zone thing, and
well, so here's the only thing
that's a little murky.
Yeah, I feel like the Landis thing's murky because that was he had.
Ultimate responsibility, and he took ultimate responsibility. But there are a lot of people had to fuck up.
Yeah, a lot of people had to fuck up. That it was a very clearly an accident.
Yeah,
it was a badly run.
That
set.
always bothered me so much because Landis is like my childhood. Like Landis and Dante, were
he
just
arguably
staples.
Never recovered from
No,
that.
he didn't.
I mean, the Twilight Zone was the end of his. I mean, it wasn't literally the end of his career, but it basically was.
I met him.
Really?
It was funny. I was working for this production company that the electronic press kits and stuff. It was one of my first jobs, and I'm driving around. Christmas was like the worst time, right before Christmas, because I had to deliver like 357 thin fleece blankets with the company logo stitched on it. They had like everyone they've ever done business with in the history of their company, all around LA, and we had like 4 production assistants like scattered across, like driving these out. And I went to one, and at the end of the day, and I wasn't even looking at the name. I'm just like going address. drop it off. I get to the door, and literally John Landis opens the door. And I look down, and sure enough, that's who it was for. Because, of course, they work with him. And he goes, you want to come in and have a beer? It was like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I said no. I have to get back to work.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know.
I would have totally gone and had that beer.
I know, but I'm driving around. It's my first job. Literally, like, I didn't want to like the story. Nick got drunk with John Landis and couldn't make the rest of his blanket deliveries. I didn't want that to be a thing. But
That would be
by the way,
a great story.
I did
it was
learn,
surreal. It was surreal.
I learned something very one good thing out of a terrible clickbait article this week, which was like famous like powerhouse stars you didn't know were in like superhero movies. And it starts off with maybe a couple that you maybe didn't know. Almost all of them are from Mystery Men, which I thought was really funny. And they were like main people. Like, did you know Ben Stiller was in Mystery Men? I'm like, yeah, he directed it, and he
didn't direct it.
I thought he directed Mystery Men.
Nope, he did not.
Well, he's in it. He's the star of it. But either way, one of them was John Landis is in Spider-Man 2 as one of the surgeons operating on Doc Ock during my favorite scene in that movie, where he's getting the clot, where they're trying to remove the arms from him, and he's one of the guys who's got a mouth mask on, and you can see the beard underneath. But I didn't know that. So I'll go back to John Landis.
Struck me as really nice, but that's
and very thirsty.
I don't know if it was a beer or not. Maybe he just was being friendly. Maybe I made it up in my head. Maybe it never happened. Maybe I dreamt it.
Maybe. So we're gonna transition to our main topic with a little game that you guys did not know I had prepared for after this was broken out last week. But
would you like to play
we're breaking out the automaton again. And
I remember pointing out that it didn't have any battery 2 days ago, and now you're already on it.
I put it on there.
Wow. You're the best.
So the automaton is this terrible Japanese instrument. I use that term loosely. You don't really have buttons on it. You can only just kind of go on sort of a sliding scale. So I thought, since today's episode is about television, I thought we'd start with Nick Santa Croce. I want you to play a TV theme song on the automaton. I'm going to hand it over to you, and we're going to guess
I have
what it is.
never once played with the automaton.
Well, you're going to figure it out very quickly. It's literally, you just slide your finger down
He's just saying that.
I never have. I've never touched
gonna
it.
knock. He's gonna.
It's like a
this
theremin.
Is Tchaikovsky.
And you just go, there's no, that's it. Yeah. So let's hear. Oh.
Oh, wait. Okay. Believe it or not.
No, we have to guess what it is.
I had to get the key. Sorry.
No, Nick. No, Nick, you're missing the game. The game is that we're going to try to guess what it is. So you can't say
Got it.
the song.
Okay, sorry.
And Night Court.
Wait.
Is it no idea?
Is it Doogie Howser?
No.
Wait. That's a good one. That would be a really good one to do on this. That is Doogie Howser. That is Doogie Howser.
I wanted to get the first one though. I'm hogging up all the time.
We want to play on the whatever it's called.
It
was Quantum Leap. It was Quantum Leap.
Oh man, that's a great one.
What was it?
Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap.
Oh, here you have to toss it.
Rich,
toss it.
throw me the idol. Throw you the whip. That, by the way, kids, is why we have video on the podcast now. You can see that on YouTube.
Spider-Man 2 and
That's right.
Raiders. You got an Alfred Molina kick.
Oh yeah. It's not very
Lowest-
responsive.
It's not very responsive.
Bottom is low.
Okay, here you
Right.
go. Sorry, it's like. Here, hold on. I'm sorry.
Bosom buddies.
That sounded like it all just sounded like Doogie Howser to me now.
Here you go.
Oh, yeah.
What?
What is that?
That's How I Met Your Mother.
Oh no!
How I Met Your
All right, let's see if I can do.
I got a really good idea. Now I want it back.
Mother. Hey,
Let's see if this will work.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
sounds like he's Morse coding.
Please send help. My location is 108 degrees south by 48 degrees north.
Dun, 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 dun. I have no idea.
Friends.
Friends. Oh, yeah, I was about to say, I was like,
I mean, I thought I was giving away with the, but then I realized all of it just sounds like garbage.
Yes.
So there is no winning in the game of automaton.
there's
You want to do one more, Nick?
Shit, I kind of do.
You have 30 seconds before we hit half hour. That's it. Gotta go quick. Okay. Yep. DuckTales.
Yeah.
DuckTales. There you go.
Duckburg.
Yep, there you go.
The only instrument that plays like Matt sings.
I was like,
loosely.
It's so funny because the first thing that popped in my head was like, my Sharona. No, that's not right. That's not right.
Okay.
DuckTales. Everything they're out there fighting DuckTales.
Well done. That was great stuff. So
Compelling radio.
After Ryan knocked down the automaton, I figured we should break that out for the second time only ever on the podcast.
Beautiful.
So yes, today's podcast is originally I wanted to call the podcast Too Much Television, but I realized that's not really the problem we're here to discuss right now.
Definitely too much tuna.
Not too much tuna. It's too much good television. That's the premise I'm going with today.
There's actually just too much of all television, but
well,
it's true though.
We've discussed. I mean, there's always been a problem of having hundreds of channels and all these programming on. It used to be all these channels, nothing good to watch. Now there's just too much good shit to watch. And how do you choose what to watch? And we've discussed the golden age of TV that we kind of think. Like there's the old golden age, and the new golden age really kind of starts with HBO and The Sopranos. And then you've got Lost, kind of brings back event television. You get Kiefer Sutherland on 24, which starts making major film actors.
I think the first 24 came out before Lost, though.
A little bit before Lost, but that really got
Just
like
take
major.
anything you can take away from Lost. You could just let it go.
No,
you gotta just.
Well, no,
chip
24
away.
is not about. I don't count it as much as about event television. It was that you had a major Hollywood movie actor doing TV, where TV used to be where you slummed at the time.
I think that Kiefer Sutherland is kind of a weird cross section because Kiefer Sutherland really was. I mean, at that point in his career, was definitely not like a leading man in any movies.
But he was still big enough that
stuff.
like you didn't usually see that happening, and then you kind of get. Sports Night takes away the laugh track, and comedies start to change where you're getting single camera comedies instead of your studio 3-camera setup, and then you get the
Thank
Prestige.
God they took that laugh track off.
Yes, and well, I still think there's a place sometimes for the laugh track, but not laugh track. I like a live audience, but and then you have the cable outlets come out and they start making prestige dramas like Mad Men and Breaking Bad, and I think that's where things really started to. If things had remained there, I think it was doable. You could go revisit an old show because it was on DVD or Netflix or whatever. You could start a new show and you knew that like it would only take you a couple seasons to catch up. And now we don't just have our cable networks and our pay cable networks. We have streaming services, and streaming services are making as good, if not better, TV shows and movies, which we won't really get into on this here. But the streaming channels is where I see the problem starting to arise. From a standpoint of I have to pay for like 7 different things to watch these shows that I'm really only watching probably one show on each of these. Like Prime, was Prime The Handmaid's Tale?
Yep. Yes.
And I watched the Romanoffs
Miss Maisel
on there. I haven't seen Miss Maisel yet, but so that's where we get to. So this is the question, Ben. You watch Miss Maisel.
No,
Right.
I don't.
You watched the first season?
No, Beth watched like most of the first season.
Oh, but you didn't
I
watch
haven't
it all.
watched any of
Okay.
it.
Nick, have you seen Miss Maisel?
Not a single minute.
Me
of
neither.
it.
And the show's winning a shit ton of awards, but I've never watched it. Have you seen either of you seen Escape at Dannemora?
Nope.
I got bored after the first 2 episodes.
See, I saw Dannemora and I liked it. But between us in the room, we're fairly savvy TV viewers. There's not a show that really all of us. There's a lot of shows.
Contrary to the proof you just displayed,
exactly.
That we don't know what we're talking about.
We're missing a lot
I
of
would
good
say that
TV.
there's one show that we all, or actually, here are the shows that we watch. Okay, ready? We all
Hot
watch
Springs
together.
Hotel.
Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's pretty much it. That's the only show that we all watch, probably, consistently.
That is not incorrect.
The only show
necessarily.
anybody watches, Ben.
Well, and Game of Thrones is event TV plus prestige HBO. That knocks off all of your
it's got
levers.
it's got all sorts of kind of
titties
crossover from all sorts of audiences. But no, I 100% agree with you. And the problem is especially it's prioritization. And how are you going to prioritize exactly what it is that
what shows are more important than your children?
Kind of, yeah. Or
and your wife.
Canonically, in the Willy Wonka cinematic universe, Mike TV is probably about our age, right? Do you think
Sure.
that the influx of different media and millions of shows broke him, and the multiple subscriptions? He's probably living in his parents' basement right now, subscribed to a million different services,
dark
consuming
timeline right
every
there.
piece of media that's ever been
Man.
made on his iPhone and his iPad and his Netflix and the Hulu.
The Ballad of Mike TV.
I actually listened to at the end of the year there was the David Edelstein. I think it was David Edelstein.
Did he play Mike TV in the movie?
No, actually, David Edelstein, I think, was the film critic. Anyways, NPR's TV critic went by and basically had this dissertation on exactly what we're talking about, and that's that. When he looked back through how many full seasons of shows he was able to watch, he was like, I watched 54 different shows the entirety of their run this year. He's a TV fucking critic.
Yeah.
This is his job. But then you think about the amount of time
It stinks.
that adds up to, and some of these shows are ones that still have
That's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
18 to 20 episodes. Some are hour long, some are hour plus long. And he was like, he said it's weird because it didn't used to be that way. As a critic, you could still watch almost 10 years ago, you could watch almost everything that was out there that was relevant. He's like, now we have to prioritize relevance. And it's like, at times, he finds himself like, I'm going to watch this show because 8 of my other peers are already watching this show.
Yeah.
And so they're commenting on this show. And he says it's become a problem just from a critical standpoint of that it's so saturated, he has no idea what to comment on. And it's his job to comment on stuff.
Crazy.
Well, I mean, but I think I also like, that's why I like, I'll look at Vulture, I'll look at a lot of publications, just basically to find the ones that are talking about the shows I watch. And not all of the shows I'm watching are widely viewed shows. You're the Worst is one of my favorite shows on TV right now. It is, dare I say, reinventing the modern romance in TV form and addressing things like bipolar and doing it with like a razor's edge. Like it is a powerfully.
And this is their last season, right?
Yeah, this is their last season. They're finishing up. They're opening. I told Ben about it.
And I've never seen a single episode of You're the Worst, but I want to watch it at some point.
And it's one of those shows, and it's so difficult for me as a viewer as well to go like. So I know that you would dig The Good Place and You're the Worst. Like those are shows that you would absolutely love, but you've got other shit to watch. And it's not that I say that they're better or worse, or there is no better or worse in this conversation. It's just what can you fit in?
Yeah.
And also what stupid shit are you still holding on to that you could probably jettison, but it's comfort. You don't have to pay attention to it.
Well, there's also some equivocation of the fact that I have a partner, and that also plays into it, is that like, okay, when you have a significant other that you're spending pretty much all of the time you're not working.
Thanks, Ben.
Sorry. I'm going to posit this in a bad way, is that I don't, my list of shows that I watch would look completely different if I was single. I mean, well, completely different. That's a good and a bad thing, because it gets me out of my comfort zone, so I do end up watching stuff that is at least in the popular zeitgeist. This Is Us. Now bring it back to This Is Us.
Do you still get to watch the Real Sex series, or is that the
Real Sex series ended in 2003, Nick?
Oh, good for you.
It's on demand.
No, I'm just joking. But no,
There's so much old dick.
I now end up
can't do it.
I
Nick.
now end up watching a lot of shows just because it's something that my wife is going to enjoy, and that I know she'll kind of bite the bullet on a couple of shows on my end if it's something I want to watch.
Wilson.
Like my wife's currently watching even though she still hasn't seen season 1, she's currently watching season 3 of True Detective.
There you go.
Wow.
So,
You don't have to see season 1.
You don't have to see any of the
That's
seasons.
great.
Yeah, it's insular and in and of itself its own thing.
And part of this, by the way, those of you out there listening, part of this episode is really just going to turn into, oh my God, are you watching this? It's so good. You should watch this. And that really is kind of the world that we live in right now. But seriously, True Detective season 3 is fucking phenomenally
really good.
And the acting
I'm
in
still,
it
I'm
is...
still an episode behind.
Oh, man. There's some...
I'm only one in.
There's some acting in this last episode that was like fucking...
Well, everyone says that
on
episode
board.
5 is kind of where it took off a little bit.
It's great. I mean, it will never catch lightning like the first season, but it is doing a damn good job of getting real fucking close, and the performances are up there. But yeah,
You don't wish there wasn't more Vince Vaughn in this episode? In this season?
I always wish
Which
there's
is
more
funny
Vince
because
Vaughn dying in a desert in everything I watch.
My wife watched the entirety.
Spoiler alert.
My wife.
Spoiler alert, don't watch season 2 of True Detective.
Well, they won't now.
Well, see, that's the ironic part is that I kept telling Beth that season 1 of True Detective is the best single season of television I've ever seen in my entire life, and she still hasn't watched it yet. But she did watch season 2 because she likes Vince Vaughn. So
I was going to offer you that, Nick, by the way.
So I just hit the mic, passing my bourbon glass to Matt underneath.
Very nice.
And the thing is,
Listen to this.
I miss seeing your
Refill me
face.
in your IPA cask whiskey.
Yes.
I miss seeing your face, Matt. You moved the computer screen.
Well, see, I keep looking at you in the monitor.
I
so
need my
I'm
booster
seeing you.
seat that you gave me 3 episodes ago.
Nick, like what's something that you're watching that that nobody else is in this room really understands or would watch?
Understands what?
Or would watch like
Well, I know that Matt took a flyer on this.
Yeah.
But one show that I really enjoyed and has like the awkward pixie dream girl, I would say, she probably coined that, is Alone Together. Really, really enjoy that show.
You got me into Alone Together and Love.
Judd Apatow's Love.
Judd Apatow's Love, and then you also got me into BoJack, which I'm just sorry. So Nick will tell me something enough to where I'm like, okay, I get it.
I pound him into
You'd be
submission.
like, oh, this one has a lot of ska jokes in it. I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm gonna like it.
That was a good ska joke. Love is interesting because it's equal parts. Except like you said, Matt, it's easy to watch. What? Go on and say it.
You guys recommend the show to me, and I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it. Psych.
All right.
Like later under my breath. Just
now
like,
we'll know. You asshole.
And your dreams.
Wow.
No, not actually. I do that, but not in a way that has any animosity. I'm just like, I'm never gonna watch that.
Well, as soon as you get home, you binge watch Judd Apatow's Love. You hear me?
They're 30-minute episodes, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
3 minute? 30
minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like those are easier shows to get through.
Yeah,
and they're only a
it's-
couple of seasons.
Yeah, it's
You
interesting.
binge them,
'cause,
they go super fast.
They do, and I really like Gillian Jacobs in it. Is from Community. I think that she is way better than she needs to be. And but Paul Rust, who is like I think one of the creators and writers, and I really am a fan of the guy, but he's so problematic as that character.
Yeah,
as the love interest, it's a little bit of like, and I mean Gillian plays a very layered, difficult character. But at the same time, you still got some of that Kevin James syndrome from King of Queens. We're like, there's no way.
Well, let's give the audience
there's
a little
no way
bit
they'd
of what
be
these
together.
shows are about, just so those that aren't watching some of these ones, you might like. A lot of them are probably no True Detective. They might not know. So, what's the premise of the show, Nick?
Love is like a like late 20s. Let me tell you about Love.
I really didn't want you to talk over that. So, like, if I can isolate this, I can just cut together Nick's Valentine's Day message. Love is like a girl living in L.A. that meets a guy who's really trying to break into the movie business.
It sounds like a William Shatner song when you give it a little mustard on it. Put a little
Do
mustard
some
on it.
Ben Folds music behind it.
Go ahead, continue.
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me. No more.
Oh, I've lost all control.
We're going off the rails on a crazy train of thought, Matt. Just sit back and relax. It's about these struggling millennial-ish aged people struggling in Hollywood and struggling in relationships, and it's like a large cast, like it is a total Apatow special, and it's not reinventing the wheel. It's kind of like Girls in a lot of ways because it gets real. It gets real from time to time, but it's got some good character studies, and it's clever and it's easy to watch. And it's not the best thing I've seen all year, but
and Alone Together that you mentioned as well. Alone Together is the perfect binge show because there's really it's really not about growth or change necessarily. It sort of is, but it's one of these like very breezy, relatable, funny,
snappy dialogue. Gilmore Girls, Kevin Smith.
It's not realistic. It's relatable, but it's not realistic in any way, shape, or form. But it is. They breeze by so quickly, and there's some really good jokes, and the two leads are very, 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 very talented, funny. Good ones. So I recommend it.
It's escaping me right now, but I'd say the most bingeable show I watched in the last year was the show. What's the name where the kid takes the girl away and where they go on the adventure together? The whole time he's planning on killing her.
Yeah, the end of the world.
End of the world.
Yeah, that's the fucking end of the
fucking world.
The end of the fucking world.
We got there.
Is it? Yes,
that was fucking good.
And there's your plot. It's about a kind of
you're the worst is the best, and
the end of the fucking world
is fucking great.
Is about a sociopathic kid who meets a girl sort of in a strange meet cute way, and they go on a car ride together, essentially running away from home with his entire plan is to just kill her.
Yeah, he wants to commit his first kill.
Yeah,
like he's like a young serial killer that wants to have his first kill.
Ted Bundy-esque internal narration,
and turns into a very strange love story.
Yeah, and you know what is so? Here's the problem with too much good television. I completely fucking forgot about that show until you just said it because I watched it in an afternoon. I watched 2.5 episodes at Nick's house at like midnight one night.
Derailed, yeah.
And then the next day, I watched the rest of it, and then that was it. It was over. It existed.
I had you over at midnight?
Yeah, we were watching. It was late. You were like,
I'm not
that
kind of man.
I was like, yeah, I am.
You're gonna put me on blast like that on the podcast?
Straight.
Jesus.
Well, you kicked that other guy out, so I was fine. Anyway, his name is Brian Willis. Anyway, I think that's.
If he wanted to. I didn't kick him out.
I think the binging. While I love it and I get to see more things, it doesn't work well for retention or appreciation of a lot of stuff. And
it's one of the reasons why I still love the HBO model. I still like it being consistent every week. It's not like the long runs where it's multi-seasons on NBC or something like that. That annoys the shit out of me because it's 18 episodes over the course of like 29 weeks.
Matt will say even more. Matt hates that too.
Annoys me. But
you guys are on the same page.
I like watching HBO shows because you're getting an episode a week every week until that season's done.
Well, it's not TV. It's also HBO.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true.
That's why I love The Good Place though. Also, Good Place is 12 episodes because that's all they would give. They basically told Schur after Parks and Rec and The Office and Brooklyn Nine-Nine. They said they're like, you can do anything you want for 12 episodes. That's all you're going to get for it. But we don't give you a note. We don't tell you shit. Whatever fucking weird idea you have, 12 episodes. And he goes, okay. So he spits out The Good Place, which wasn't quite getting the ratings at first, but has slowly started to kind of like turn into not a hit for them, but it's getting a lot of prestige. So they give him the same deal again. They go, hey, worked out great for you. We're going to give you another one. So he's doing one now. And I don't love the premise, but it's Michael Schur, so I will show up. And it's a woman that runs a bar out of the back of her house, like in a backyard. So it's like Cheers at a Airbnb, like kind of like thing. It's very strange. And that's the only part of the premise I've heard of. I'm like, I don't know what this is about, but
it's no homeschool.
But I'll watch it because it's Michael Schur. And I think that's the other kind of, we did discuss this a while ago about how TV showrunners are kind of becoming pseudo little rock stars in their worlds. Some of them, Shonda Rhimes is like fucking
it's a good gig.
Queen of TV right now. And then she went over to Netflix, right? I think almost everyone's getting pushed over to Netflix.
Well, Shonda Rhimes, I mean, because I know that Shonda Rhimes did like How to Get Away with Murder and
Scandal.
Scandal was was one of the big ones that started, and then she had a
good Queen song too.
Yes,
deep cut.
But there's always, like Shonda Rhimes is a rock star, and I think that there's a very specific kind of demographic that her shows, or the ones that she was producing, which were because they're very saucy and very, you saucy
little minx.
Saucy. There's lots of, dare I say, scandal.
Yeah.
You
God damn it.
Hey, can I play a game with you guys real quick? An impromptu game that Matt has no idea and it's stressing him out. I can see him sweating from underneath.
Were you that bored with our conversation?
No, I just
threw a game
you
in the
gave
middle?
you gave me an idea. You
Okay.
gave me an idea.
All right, let's. Breaking news. We have a game coming from Santa Croce. Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to play you a sound effect.
All right.
And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and you each are going to say the first thing that comes to your head. The first show that comes to your head.
First show. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
First television show.
The first television show that comes to your head after the sound effect, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, go on 4.
All right.
You ready?
This is dead air.
One, 2, 3.
Dream on. What did you say?
Game of Thrones.
Oh, no.
Dream on.
Dream on.
You saucy little
Do you
minx.
know how much I associate that sound effect with
Wow.
orgasms and masturbation? Dream on was the first...
You dirty little monkey.
The first time I realized something could be entertainingly funny and also have boobs and sexy time in it. Dream on, Brian
Wow.
Benben, the man. I mean, he's the fucking man.
What was the
Married
woman
to
in that
Madeline
who's still
Stowe.
acting and Just Shoot Me?
Malik, Wendy Malik.
Wendy Malik.
Yeah,
good name.
Wendy Malik played his ex-wife in it. That show, Dream On, was a so far ahead of its time and so fucking good. And one of the
dreamed
first
until your dreams
original
came true.
HBO TV series. Other than
Interesting.
they had not necessarily the news, and they had that puppet thing. They had a few things, but Dream On was their first kind of like hit. And that show went on for 6. Anyone ever seen it?
No.
So here the
It's before my time.
I used to sneak down in my basement and watch the reruns, the censored reruns on Comedy Central.
Do you know what the actual premise behind the show is? Because it's kind of amazing.
No,
it's
I
this
know
guy.
nothing about this show.
So the opening
Steven Tyler wrote a
sequence,
song about it.
yes, this opening sequence is great. It's this kid and his parents are like leaving the house and leaving him with his sister to like watch him, and he's glued in front of the TV, and like his sister's like making out with some guy in the back of the couch. All these things are happening behind him. It's just him glued to this black and white television, watching all of these old TV shows, like boom, 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 and that's him as an adult.
As his sister is having sex
As
behind him.
the sister's like getting it on with this guy behind him. He's watching all this shit. So
She's a negligent babysitter.
in his present day life, every time he's doing anything or there's any sexual thing or whatever, he's constantly doing these flashbacks to TV shows where they literally show old black and white clips that fit with like a girl like asks him if he wants to do something. He's trying to play it cool, but the clip will be someone who's like, whoop, 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 like super excited. And it was one of the first times they really did that kind of like cross-cut type thing where like you were playing a gag in this one bit and then coming back to the main guy. It was ahead of its time. It was really good. Brian Benben's fucking great in that show, but that's a good binge show to go back and just be like, fuck.
Wait, who?
Brian Benben was the lead in it.
Ben? Is it
Ben
Fred
Ben.
and Wilma's or Barney
Bam
and
Bam.
Yeah, that's Betty and Barney.
Yeah, that was my
Aren't you
first...
glad I played this game?
I do.
You
That
got
was
the
a good
real
one.
impromptu little set of passion.
Now, what
there.
do you think of when you hear that sound?
Thank you for no one ever asked me what I think of when I hear the HBO sound effect. Thank you, Matt. It's Mr. Show for me. But Game of Thrones is real close.
Yeah.
But it's definitely Mr. Show.
How great is their branding?
The only reason why Mr. Show probably doesn't pop in is because I have the DVDs or like the Blu-rays of Mr. Show.
Privileged.
No, but they don't.
I
never watched it live. I never watched it live.
Well, watch it live. My buddy Dave Egan, Egan's brother would like literally taped it live on like a couple of VHS tapes, and the worst speed, so you fit 8 episodes on one tape. And I used to go over his house every day after high school, and we like chipped through the series, and I changed my perception of comedy. And I had to give Dave credit for that joke. Like, he told me once, he goes, whenever I hear that sound effect, I hear Mr. Show. And I realized that's absolutely true for me too. But everyone's going to have everyone's going to associate that sound effect with something very specific. And before they changed it, remember that song that used to play?
So So my brother.
That's Fraggle Rock, though.
No.
I think of Fraggle Rock coming right after that.
Yeah. Well, so the
It's like Tron going through a residential neighborhood into the HBO logo.
This is very fitting for this right now. So my brother and I one night, maybe alcohol was involved. I can't corroborate that.
It was,
but we were on a deep dive.
Ron Howard's voice. It was.
I had found this. like 30-minute documentary on the making of the HBO opening from the 80s that used to play before the movies. And I literally did not go to sleep.
I remember this.
I watched this documentary. And then I remember. I go to my brother. I go, I don't know how closely we're related, really, in our minds, but I'm going to put something on right now that I can't not watch all of this if I see it. And I hope you're interested. And he's like, yes, this is our thing. And it's literally, they spent a lot of money for the time on that opening. It's all practical. And when I say all practical, I don't know if those of you out there listening remember the HBO theme. It starts in this apartment. And it pulls out of the apartment, and it's this long tracking shot over a model set of Los Angeles, basically. And it's flying through and going over all these cars. All of a sudden, it's going, and then it starts to swell. It's swell, and it goes, and it's this big music, and they go above the mountains. And then there's a spinning, like, circle, like you're inside a centrifuge. And it says HBO with all these sparkly things, and it's spinning around these light beams around it.
Cthulhu pops
and
out.
I'm like, oh man, like that must have cost them a lot to do like the CG, like the old, like early computer graphics on it. There were no computer graphics. They show how they shot the entire thing, and that end part of it, I will show you guys after the show, does not look like it is a practical effect. It looks like computers.
I remember this special. I'm so glad we got
it's amazing.
There. I'm going to watch the shit out of that video after this.
No, I highly recommend. If you were an 80s kid and you watched a lot of HBO, it's a great. Now, it is kind of interesting with HBO that there are so many that could have been on that. 'Cause, I mean, Band of Brothers was another one, and Sopranos. Were you guys big Sopranos fans?
No.
Nope.
See, I kind of sensed that. And
I've seen the whole.
When I start a Journey song, God damn it, I finish it, man.
See, The Sopranos was like, that was the first event television I remember of my like young adult life. Like we would, like even in college, we were like, oh, the fucking Sopranos is on. It's Sunday night. Everyone like line up around the TV. There's no DVR.
That was 6 feet under.
That was 6 feet under for us.
Yeah. That's so interesting to me, and that's just a couple of years difference between us. But because I was out of college by the time 6 feet under really hit. But Sopranos was like right in like that first season was my junior year.
The only difference between Nick and I is that by the end of 6 feet under, I was just over it. Like it was the first few seasons where I was like super into 6 feet under. But by the time we were out of college, you guys I know were still super into it, and I had kind of like gravitated away from it. But even to
it's the only difference.
That was the only difference though is that like it was like somebody who
me and Ben are completely identical, except for our take on 6 Feet Under.
So, a question for you, Nick,
and that's ridiculous that you fell off that show.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all.
And the show's about TV and TV shows, and it is still the most affecting thing I've ever seen, and it is still
that finale is
and
amazing.
will always be
cool finale.
This series that I've seen the most times from start to finish. I've watched 6 Feet Under from start to finish 5 different times in my life.
Wow,
and it's super motivating to me. It does get slow at parts, but it's the journey. And you're right, Matt. It's up there with Breaking Bad and a select few other shows that has a pitch perfect pilot and a pitch perfect finale episode, and that's so rare. Lost had a great pilot and
maybe
and
the
crashed
best.
and burned. But very few. Whatever happens in between just gets you to the best finale, and it's a ride, and I love rewatching that. I'm watching Breaking Bad only the second time, and we all know how amazing a show that is, and it only gets better in a rewatch. I remember I was watching it week to week when it was on AMC. Watching it back to and a binge is like it's a whole new level of you pick up on things, and it's a whole new experience, and it's amazing. But it's no 6 Feet Under.
I just realized I've literally only watched one series ever more than once.
X-Files?
No.
Buffy?
No.
How I Met Your Mother?
No.
No, wait, hold on.
Scrubs?
Series.
One series.
Twice.
And you know why? Because it was only one fucking season.
Oh, Firefly.
Nope.
Whoa.
Freaks and Geeks is the only show
There were 2 seasons.
of what?
Freaks and Geeks.
No, there wasn't. There was just one season. 18 episodes.
Oh, really?
Guarantee you.
Wow, yeah. I've seen that multiple times.
Yeah, it was.
I've only seen that once. I don't watch a lot over.
No, that's the thing. It's the only. I just
It's
realized
not as good as Judd Apatow's Love.
because I'm going through it, and I was like, that is literally the only show that I've watched more than once. I can't believe that.
Director of Ghostbusters.
And I'm
Paul
not
Feig.
Ghostbusters. Fluffer, fuck that. No, I think the
Wait, that's 2
rewatch.
different
So I
characters,
don't have a
isn't it?
lot of time to rewatch, and I'd love
Yeah.
to rewatch one. So there are shows I would like to go back, and I could call it rewatch, but it'd be really a watch, which is like 6
Dream
Feet
On?
Under. no, that would not watch that. I would absorb it.
right.
But no, 6 Feet Under.
Nostalgia fap.
I watched the first season of 6 Feet Under, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but something was rubbing me wrong with Alan Ball's writing at some point in that first season. I don't know what it was, but there was something.
It was like Sports Night. It didn't really know what it was, and had those weird like mortuary commercials.
I loved all that. There was
like
something.
that.
There was something with the writing of David's character, boyfriend's character, and there's like this catty thing. And I'm like, there's something. It's something kept ringing false to me that I wasn't really into, and I left the show, and then I came back for
David and Keith's relationship.
So I came back the final season, parts of it, and I watched the finale. Like I knew enough to like know the finale, but I saw like a handful of episodes in between. So that's one of those shows I really think I will probably go nuts for once I just know that that's a commitment. Like I commit to 5 seasons.
It's so worth it. It's
I'm
like,
sure it is.
It's like filling. You get like writer's block. I would put on episodes. There are episodes where Peter Krause and Rachel, who played his girlfriend,
I always forget her last name. It's Rachel something. Though.
Yeah,
Right.
they do a scene where in late in the series where they're getting an argument. And they've gotten back together after impossible odds, and they've been teasing it for so long. And she like takes off the engagement ring that he gave her and like throws it down, and they have this just like drag out final fight. Mm-hmm. It is maybe my favorite scene between 2 actors in television ever. It's a clinic, and all it is a run of the mill, relationship fight that most people have. It's so real and nuanced that everything that happened that series, that one scene always stick with me. And I was on a plane once, and this guy, back when the iPod Video first generation came out, he's got his wired AirPods in. Those were a thing. Can you believe it?
Okay, I still wear wired headphones.
Peasants, I
sometimes,
say.
you asshole.
And anyway, I was like not paying attention. Hour goes by, whatever. I'm kind of dozing off. I look over, and I realize that it is Claire driving off in her hearse in the last scene of the last episode, and I hear Sia.
Song.
I hear Sia's breathe faintly through his headphones, and start tearing up. And they haven't gone to the montage yet.
They haven't even gone to the montage.
and this guy,
and
then I look up at this guy, and I realize this is not
It's
the
Alan
look.
Ball.
This is,
and he is jerking off to the finale.
and we both
of...
do the Florida State tomahawk chop. No,
He went to Florida State.
Yeah.
yeah,
I didn't know that.
he did. Go Knowles. But he is clearly watching this with the look in his eye that is not the Nick Senecroce 6 Feet Under rewatch eye. He's finishing the series on the plane right now, at this very moment, and he doesn't know what's about to happen. And I'm hearing Sia start to swell up, and I start to cry. I start to tear up, and now he realizes that I'm staring at it, and he looks at me, and we lock eyes, and then he gives me a look, and he goes, "Oh fuck." And he realized what was about to happen, and we both watched the ending, the horrific ending of 6 Feet Under. When everyone died. We've been
horrific.
so invested.
It's kind of beautiful.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful, but it is so final. It is so final, and that's what makes it. That's what makes it so good. Like every episode starts off with a random death that finds its way. The cadaver finds its way. The lifeless body finds its way.
I love
to the
that
Fisher.
convention, by the way.
Yeah, and that's the opening of every episode, and they find a way in the episode, and it's just a part of the greater story, right? And then the main characters all die at once in one episode. It is the perfect subliminal setup in the guise of like a kitschy intro, and it totally sets up this ending to be so impactful without even having to try.
Well, and
my favorite part of the show is where he goes, "My arm is numb."
Narm is an underused meme, by the way.
I love Narm.
Narm is so great.
I love Narm.
I was going to make a Narm joke like 10 minutes ago.
Was he at a Carl's Jr.? Where was he at when that happened?
No, the numb arm is after
that.
He has the stroke. He has the stroke at Carl's Jr. where he smells eggs.
That's what I'm saying.
Do you smell eggs?
Was it Carl's Jr.?
That's where he has the stroke. Yeah, he's at a fast food drive-thru.
He doesn't say Narm there.
But numb arm is when he's in the room with her
after he
has
right.
sex.
Yeah,
then he dies.
Yes, and that's his death.
Right.
What's so funny about those? So like. And I'm a huge fan of like conventions like that. That's why the parts of that show I loved were things
huge
like
fan of Peter Krause. He's been well represented tonight.
Yeah, he's got 2 shows on the
list. I thought it was
list.
opposite. I thought he died in the Carl's Jr. and then
No, the Carl's Jr. is the stroke that he has the first time they realize he has an issue. Because I was still watching the show at that point. Numb arm I've looked up online and it makes me laugh a lot at night sometimes.
Lily Taylor is so good in that show too. The supporting cast, everybody who comes in is amazing.
But
it was the start of Kathy Bates showing up in everything.
everything.
And
what's
Dwight funny is like that those conventions are. It's very interesting to me the time period that Ben and I wrote Dream Writers was very much we were not borrowing from conventions. We kind of had our own idea, but I've always been a fan of a TV show with structure like that has like a kind of a through line that's not really the through line, but it sort of pays off in the end. And that was our deal with Dream Writers. We were going to open every episode with a dream. So every episode was going to open with this dream that was being written by someone, and then you would follow that character who wrote that dream through the episode. And we had a really, really dark opening for like the 3rd or 4th episode.
Yeah.
And I remember this was a very specific discussion because we were talking about things like 6 Feet Under, where I said, I love when a TV show is kind of playing to what I'm expecting from it at the beginning. Right. And I'm like, okay, it's good. It's good. I'm liking it, but it's like, it's fine. It's fine. It's, I'm hoping to get somewhere. And then they take that turn at some point. And we leaned hard into that convention with Dream Writers with literally like a I think it was a suicide.
Yep.
Based off of like this terrible dream that this person had. And I always remember thinking that was part of why I love TV so much and why I loved writing that show is that I've watched a shit ton of TV. So there are these things that start to build up your tolerance of understanding like, oh, here's what they're building towards with this. Here's what they're doing with this. And here's how you turn that convention on its head. And I think that's why a lot of these streaming services they're taking those models that people know, but they're also getting rid of the act structure so that it's not necessarily a 3-act or a 4-act or a 5-act. A lot of those things are breaking a little bit of convention, especially because you don't have commercials on a lot of them, which is, even though you can tell when a show's built for commercial breaks and they've just not put them in there.
Exactly. And now expectation is people are going to binge. And so you're constructing a series for something to be able to be watched, show, as opposed to having to have that time to really, to really compress what it is that you've seen and internalize and sort of figure out, like I said, and maybe that's the issue with the retention is that we're just absorbing it so quickly, but people, they're approaching the shows that way of that, like, you're going to watch 8 episodes really fast and that's the way you're going to watch this show.
I'm super interested in knowing what you guys think about what's going to happen when all these services start splitting off. I'm still devastated that Daredevil is gone. And
they picked up Punisher, that threw me off big time.
I've been telling you guys claim to know everything about this, and then they picked up Punisher season 3. So was I crazy when I was talking to you about like why is Daredevil canceled? It's so expensive.
I think
it's their number 4 show, but is it the rights thing? Is it? But they got Punisher season 3. So explain it to me.
I don't think Disney wants Punisher.
I'm with you.
I'm being dead serious.
They're still making Deadpool.
They're going
to make R-rated properties.
Deadpool's a funny, goofy thing, and it's not a guy that takes revenge out.
It's not going to be on Disney Plus.
It's totally different.
So here's all I'm saying. Sure, we get the Tom Hiddleston Loki show,
but no interest in.
But I don't get Daredevil anymore, and I'm still hurting from it. And I want to know now that even if it's the reason that Daredevil is gone or not, all the rights are reverting to certain companies. We're going to have NBC. There's rumors The Office was being taken off Netflix. I don't know if that went through or not, but people are starting to introduce their own services. How's that gonna affect how we watch? Like what show?
It's not even how we watch. We're heading back to cable. Here's my opinion. We're
restoring relevance.
In 10 years. We are going to be back on Xfinity and Comcast and Time Warner and everyone else who does cable because we've splintered too much to where it's not cost. So I've got friends who have cut the cable and they're losing money. One of them. Some of them are losing money and stuff. Now I'm an asshole. I'm going to admit it right now. I'm finding ways to watch things that maybe I'm not having to pay for watching these things on there, right? Not all the time, to be honest, anymore.
You pay for it, but not with money.
Well, and actually, it's funny. I do that more for film stuff, and then I go and buy the movie. But on TV, yeah, I've got a Hulu account. I've got a Prime account. I've got a Netflix account.
Wait, you're sharing
and
the
I have
Hulu
cable.
account. Wait, we're sharing it, right?
We need to figure out how to get back on that. I think
Man,
I was on there and then it didn't take my password. But
I would have given the password to my parents.
Off fair. But yeah, I think that there is once it goes to, so I'm not going to probably get the Disney service because I don't have kids and I'm going to buy every Marvel and Star Wars movie anyway.
And Ben will get it.
And I have no interest in the fucking young Loki or whatever this other shit is that's going to be on there. I have no interest in that. Now, the one that did get me, you know what I'm going to get a pass for? And this is where it comes down to.
Star
if they're
Trek?
smart. No, and Trek didn't get me. Twilight Zone with Jordan Peele. I'm a Twilight Zone fucking nut.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to get CBS All Access to watch Twilight Zone for a season. And if it's great.
But wait a minute. So if you have CBS, you can't watch Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone?
You have to watch it on
It's
All
on.
Access.
It's only on their All Access pass.
So
what?
So here's the
Same as Star Trek Discovery. You can't watch that on CBS.
Oh, you see fuck. So what happens with a lot of these, the shows is if you don't have it, you can still watch it, but you're watching it through an outside vendor like an Xfinity. So you're going to pay $1 per, or $2 or $3 per episode.
Wow.
And then that's going straight to them. And so that's what we have done.
How long has that been around?
Oh, it's been around for years.
Yeah.
And that's what we had to do multiple times is because we have a Prime account, we have Netflix. But say there's a show I want to watch on Stars. I'm not going to pay $10 a month to watch Stars.
You want to watch a show on Stars.
Hey, I fucking watched Counterpart, and I was going to bring that up in this episode, so you shut your mouth.
Well, you just
anyways, so if
okay, sorry.
As opposed to saying I'm going to spend however much money to watch it while it's on its run, I could also just pay $3 an episode and watch all 10 episodes, and I end up paying $30 for 10 hours worth of content. Not that bad when it comes down to what you're going to rent a movie through Amazon.
But see, I have a package with Xfinity that I use Trim to get my account down, and I get all my other shit through it. So I get Stars and I get Showtime, which is great because I'm watching fucking Black Monday on Showtime, which. You guys would love. Fucking Ken Marino as the Lehman Brothers twins is the most amazing thing I've ever seen on TV.
I'm sure I would love that.
The show is fun. Actually, of all the things I would suggest, if Beth liked Succession, you guys really should watch Black Monday. And I didn't know it. They're half-hour episodes. They're half-hour movies with fucking Paul Scheer wearing a bad toupee and Don Cheadle and the guy from Book of Mormon that played Elder Price. But that's a great show, and I watched
Fresh off the boats, Paul Scheer.
And see, I feel happy that I didn't cut the cable because there are things like that. And Counterpart is another show that's just a fucking. If you guys have not seen Counterpart, I will recommend this on there. J.K. Simmons plays two versions of J.K. Simmons.
Yeah, I know.
And it's amazing because it is literally the two parts that he's most famous for.
J. Jonah Jameson?
It's an asshole killer guy.
And the progressive sales pitch man?
No, and the henpecked husband, J.K. Simmons. And what they find out is that the premise of the pilot is that at some point in the late 80s, our world split into two.
Yep,
and only a small amount
worlds.
of people know what's going on. And the two sides have lived opposite one another. And a flu was unleashed on one of the sides that killed 50% of the population. So one side is super health conscious, come up with all of these things. The ones that got hit by the flu, they've now come up with all these medical marvels. The other side's our side. They had no flu. They have cell phones, which the other side doesn't have. They don't smoke cigarettes, but the others all this shit's going on. but you've got J.K. Simmons as these two versions of himself, and they have to swap, and it's fucking perfect because J.K. Simmons, what's amazing about watching him is to watch him turn on, like, asshole Simmons versus henpeck Simmons in, like, a snap. And it's worth it for that. The show, it reminds me a lot of Orphan Black, for anyone that watched Orphan Black.
I actually watched the first season of Orphan Black. I didn't see any beyond that.
The show as a whole is not amazing, but you've got a lead performance that's just fucking phenomenal in it. But that's another one that for what we're watching now. So Ben,
I have to make an apology though, real quick. J.K. Simmons was for Farmers Insurance. Flo, the incomparable Flo was Progressive. I don't like how the whole time you guys were talking about that.
I hate how the Flo commercials have stolen Janet from The Good
Flo
Place.
Flo is played by Miss Stephanie Courtney from Melvin Goes to Dinner.
There it is.
Wow. Holy shit. All right.
Directed by
I got to hang out with
Mr. Bob Odenkirk, part of the show that I think of every time I hear the HBO theme song.
So last thoughts I want from each of us in the room. We're going to start with Nick Santacroce. One show you want to recommend to our audience right now to binge and why?
Oh.
Or start watching. I mean, that may be live on TV right now.
If they haven't seen it, what show should they start out of everything I've ever seen in my life?
Yes, you have one opportunity.
My God.
And we will consider this to be what you consider to be the greatest piece of television that ever existed, better than everything else, and arguable.
It's 6 feet. Obviously. I mean, that is it's not necessarily something that I would recommend to everyone, but if we're talking from a personal standpoint, that is my favorite piece of television ever, and I don't think anything's going to beat it. And a lot of things have come close. A lot of things have come close. And one last thing.
I was kidding about that, by the way. It doesn't have to be the greatest thing that ever existed.
I believe, for me personally, that's my favorite thing in the medium, unequivocally. But
what about the show Medium?
Okay. You know what's so funny? I almost made a Patricia Arquette reference about when we were talking about good television earlier. So we're on the same wavelength. But one show, talk about television, the one thing that I think can get me more geeked out than Game of Thrones, can get me more hyped up than Lost, and can satisfy my nerddom.
Jesus.
Well, let me... It's a bit of a set. Okay, it was a little dramatic. But Why the Last Man on FX? Netflix didn't pick it up. HBO didn't pick it up. No one picked it up. FX picked it up, and I think that it is a really, really good fit.
Just officially got ordered the series this week.
Yeah. It sure did. And I'm so stoked. They've only released one still, and it's an iconic frame of the Brian K. Vaughan graphic novel, and I'm really, really excited. I have my hopes up, and I actually, because it's FX, I feel like it's a good fit. I am really optimistic, and it's when you talk about 6 Feet Under being the most affecting television show, Why the Last Man is maybe the most affecting thing of any medium, much less graphic novel or movie or album. That's my favorite thing ever.
And
so
FX should get a shout out for FX is not producing the best things on television necessarily, but
Louis C.K.
But they are producing the most unique and interesting things, and they're doing a damn good job. Legion, I'm a big fan of. I'm a fan of Preacher. I'm a fan of You're the Worst. FX is
It's Always Sunny. They pioneer with that.
They work working harder than they have to.
Yep.
I like that. Now, how about you, Ben?
What was Jay Baruchel's?
The Man Seeking Woman. I couldn't even bring it up. It hurts me so much that it's gone. But
it's so good.
That was so good.
I've realized I was going to show Ryan when he was in town for the podcast last week. The
Tanaka.
I was like, that's a trial by fire at this house. But I got too drunk and I forgot.
Tanaka.
How about you, Benny?
I was going to show Ryan the episode of Man Seeking Woman, but then I got drunk.
Well, I mean, I would, of all things, Leave It to Beaver would be... No, I'm just joking.
If my mother and sister are listening, they would wholeheartedly and unironically agree with you.
Gee, Wally, I don't think it's a good idea.
Oh, come on, Beef. Stop being an asshole.
The most fun I ever had binging something, even though it took forever, was the X-Files. Just because the disparity in quality between some of the episodes.
Did you ever think you'd live to see Scully jack off a zucchini, though?
What?
That's in Sex Education. You should watch it.
Oh, okay.
That's another recommendation.
We'll do that.
Sorry.
Yes, it is. Very good. Did you watch it?
I have been watching it and I love it.
Oh, it's so good.
I love it.
But anyways, for a show that like it has such a wide disparity in quality between the Monsters of the Week episodes and even in the case of the mythology episodes,
it coined that phrase. Right. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is true. So that's the one that I had the most fun doing. Personally, if I had to recommend a show to somebody to binge, it would probably be something along the lines of Man-Seeking Woman. So,
just give them something short and sweet to enjoy.
Something that's a little easier to just dip your toes in and get you a nice 10 or 11 episodes.
Psychological, a little bit of a spice to it.
It does, yeah. Something that's going to be unique enough, and yeah. But I
it's going to go down easy, but then later on.
Yeah,
it'll burn deep inside of you.
Yeah, and I mean, if I'm going to go for something that maybe you probably wouldn't watch, like I'm not going to give you something you probably have heard of or whatever. You're the Worst is for me. You're the Worst or Good Place are probably the two, and they're like literally
Good Place,
the most diametrically opposed tones of any two. Literally, one is the most futile. Everyone is terrible. We are all terrible people. Maybe there's hope for us, but don't really get excited about that because it's probably not going to happen, which is You're the Worst. And The Good Place continually so I watched The Good Place season finale. I was up in Ohio visiting Mia, and I had like the afternoon to myself. I worked for like most of the afternoon. I was like, oh shit, The Good Place finale was on last night. I'm going to pop that on my iPad. And I bawled. I fucking like ugly cried.
Like you're on an airplane.
I ugly cried to the season finale of The Good Place. Which
really?
That emotion has not happened to me on that show, and I was not expecting what they did. And that's the biggest compliment I can give to Michael Schur is that every what are you doing? You trying to see if I'm lying or am I crying?
I wanted to see your eyes. I wanted to see if you were crying.
I saw you over there.
You wanted to see the glistening in your beautiful eyes.
And so I was thinking about like no.
You fucking wimp, I wanted to see if you were crying.
We can't understand what you're saying.
I can't hear you,
you're
but
not in the
we
microphone.
can hear you. But
all right, sorry.
So no, I what happens with The Good Place almost every couple of episodes is I go, oh wow, they just took a turn. I know exactly where they're going, and I have no idea where they're fucking going. And every time they pivot, it catches me off guard, and I'm like, fuck, I would never have thought to go that direction. It is literally, it is very clear that writer's room and Schur are just saying like, we are going to pivot this as much as we can, and you're never going to feel on safe ground because you don't know where we're gonna go. And literally going into this finale, we're kind of heading into this one crisis we think that's going to happen, and then they 180 it and they make it a character moment with two of the most heartbreaking performances in a scene I've seen. I won't say who it's between, but it blew me away. And the Good Place will get my win. And also, those of you that pay attention,
show we didn't spoil this entire episode.
The Good Place also is essentially the better, more put together version of Dream Writers that you're never going to see on air, but you'll get to see The Good Place, which God bless them. And sometimes.
But maybe if people donate to our Patreon.
Sometimes Schur bumps so hard into the Dream Writers, I will send Ben like a single image and he'll go, oh, fuck.
Yeah, it happens.
Sucks.
He'll be like, oh, really? That doesn't sound. Oh, no, I see what you're saying there. Yeah, that is us.
Yeah.
I was writing a screenplay about the devil in plain sight, and I thought it was so clever naming him Louis Cypher, Cypher, and then I watched Angel Heart. And I was equally parts horrified and turned on because Lisa Bonet was on there. But that's Al Pacino's he plays the devil in plain sight in Angel Heart, and his name is Louis Cypher. So my spin on it was he's going to be French. Louis Cypher.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna
Fert. Okay,
I gotta pitch this to IMDb. I got a great episode for him.
I take back what I said before. You should binge watch whatever movie or TV series Nick is writing about Louis Cypher.
Louis Cypher,
played by Louis C.K. in his comeback performance.
Now with 50% more masturbation.
There we go. There it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed. We have sort of a
Flow, structure.
A structure that kind of tamps
Premise.
down. I wanted to have more of just a general conversation tonight.
I thought it
so
was
hopefully
great.
you guys enjoyed it out there. I enjoyed
Next
hearing
week we'll
about
have
it.
something a little bit tighter.
Oh, we're going to
Will
be
we?
diving into the Oscars, which, by the way, if you're a super fan, you know that the Oscars also Ben and mine's anniversary.
And Beth.
Well, okay, that's fine.
What do you guys
if you
do
want to
on
bring
your-
her into
do-
it? But
do you
that's
guys
fine.
do you celebrate in any other special way on your anniversary, or do you exchange gifts? Or
I love it.
We have not. We've just.
No, Ben walks into my house and then he whips it out, and I'm like, oh.
these Louis C.K. jokes are getting stale.
Good for you.
And then we do it, and it's uncomfortable.
done.
I believe that we have a pretty fun activity to do at the beginning of the podcast next week, so we're going to work on that.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Did I say this?
We already discussed this, but we'll wait. We're going to leave it.
I discussed this.
I don't remember this.
We all discussed this
I don't
together.
think this happened.
Yeah.
I think Ben's making things up again.
I'm not making things up.
I'm
So
scared.
tune in next week, so you now know what the mystery thing.
Oh,
that
well, it's
Matt's
such a
terrified
mystery
about.
that I don't
The
remember.
last thing I agreed to your mystery thing, I was scarred for life.
My mystery thing.
I wake up in cold sweats.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening to the New Way podcast, and we'll be coming back to you with some weird game that Ben's come up with next week. So stay tuned. Cheers.
Book your therapist appointment now.